Welcome to the CoLab podcast series, brought to you by 𝗽cie𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘁, a law firm with an exclusive focus on entrepreneurship. In this podcast, we take you behind the scenes with some of today's most driven entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and innovators. We hope these conversations will not only inform but also inspire you on your own journey in business. Let's dive into today's episode.
Okay, hi all, welcome to CoLab by 𝗽cie𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘁. My name is 𝗽cie 𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘁. I'm a partner at 𝗽cie𝗱𝗀𝗰𝘀𝘁, specialized in assisting entrepreneurs in basically their entire trajectory towards growth, consisting of venture capital investment rounds, M&A deals, private equity transactions, and fund formation, as well as technology transactions, all types of strategical transactions, including innovative and technological products and companies. Today I have the honor of inviting and hosting a podcast with Ruben Miessen from LegalFly. And our first question is always to our guests, could you please introduce yourself and the company you are working for or you have founded?
Definitely. So thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm Ruben. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO at LegalFly. And with LegalFly, we're a legal AI scale-up that is automating the more repetitive and mundane tasks for legal professionals.
Okay, very, very interesting. Also for us, of course, because as a law firm, I assume that we are one of your law firms in general are your most important customers, or do you target other types of sectors or players as well?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So at LegalFly, LegalFly was originally built 100% for the law firms. But then after we launched in the summer of last year, we also had massive inbound from legal teams at enterprises, mainly enterprises active in highly regulated industries. So thinking about the financial sector within banking,
banks,
accountancies, insurance. So it's a 50-50 split, I would say, between the law firms that we're servicing from a focus perspective, as well as in-house teams, mainly in the financial industry.
Very, very interesting. So I know that you have a past. You have already founded a couple of startups, I think, prior to starting LegalFly, as well as a experience in a bigger scale up, almost corporate, or actually having become a corporate. What inspired you to start all over again and to start LegalFly, and how do you think, you explained that you want to address certain challenges in the legal sector. How do you think that LegalFly can address those challenges?
Yeah, so LegalFly is my third startup to date. And prior to starting LegalFly, I was actually working at Tinder. So we were working, we came from the sexiest industry in the world to now, if I may say, like the least sexiest one. But it's with that Tinder mindset that we're making legal tech sexy again. And that's also where I met my co-founders, actually, at Tinder, where we were shipping most of the AI features there as well.
And does it stem from things you encountered at Tinder, stuff you wanted, for instance, contracting, that it wasn't done efficiently or quick enough, or with too much involvement from external counsel, or what's the reasoning behind starting it when having had that experience at Tinder?
Yeah, so at Tinder, I was a senior product manager and team lead. So I was also responsible for identifying business opportunities and then translating that opportunity into a product feature. So I always had to draft the product proposal to do an analysis of the opportunity, come with a solution as well on how we believe we can ship a new feature that would have a positive impact for all of the users at Tinder. It would also boost the business, the revenues of the platform. And as a result of that, as soon as a product proposal was finalized, I always had to pitch it internally to various committees. And one of those committees was the legal committee at Tinder. So I had almost weekly meetings with the legal team. And there I also learned, especially getting to know the legal professionals at Tinder better, also on a personal level, I definitely learned that they were operating under an immense amount of pressure. And also that, if I spoke with other product managers in the organization, I could really feel that whenever they could try to bypass the legal team, they actually would, because as soon as legal becomes involved,
takes time,
slows down process, it becomes a bit more complicated. So it was an interesting experience. I always enjoyed having the sparring sessions with the legal team a lot, But I could see that at the company, the legal team, they were operating under an immense amount of pressure. And then the people engaging with the legal team, they tried to bypass. So we felt like there should be a better way to streamline those legal operations in an enterprise.
Yeah, no, very, 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 and I can definitely imagine the problem, because many of our more, let's say, corporate customers, corporate clients, often when having bigger sales teams, having to negotiate or contract with customers, they ask us to prepare some kind of guidelines to do the contracting. Like, okay, you have this list of items in a contract, and on item A, your preferable option is, I don't know, X, and but you could go with option Y as well, but never put option Z in it without the actual approval of an internal legal team or an external legal team.
Almost like a playbook.
Like a playbook, like actual contracting guidelines in some way or another. Is that also something you're incorporating in the product, or is the product mainly focused on analyzing contracts and like flagging the issues and proposing alternatives?
So during my time at Tinder, also what I learned, because I really wanted to understand the average workday of a legal professional in an enterprise. And I mean, every workday is, the first thing I learned is that every workday is so different. And the amount of tasks that a legal professional is performing at the legal team of Tinder, it varies significantly. Like in the morning, for example, they could be reviewing NDAs or contracts. Then by lunch, they're taking some time to give advice to product managers, or as you explained, to different managers within the organization on how to deal with a situation or how to handle a contract. And in the afternoon, they may be drafting a vendor agreement themselves. So the variety of use cases and tasks that those legal professionals are working on internally, it varies big time. So that's also where we learned, like, okay, if we build a legal AI solution, it definitely shouldn't be a legal point solution. It doesn't make sense that we would provide our customers with just a Microsoft Word add-in that would help you to locate a template clause and insert it into your contract. We need to build a legal AI workspace that is able to assist in contract reviews, that is able to assist. And with those contract reviews, it should also have the option, the capability of applying a playbook, as you mentioned. So you as a legal professional, you remain in the driver's seat. You can define a playbook, for example, on the platform, and then anyone within the organization could run a contract review with your playbook on it. So it would save you a lot of time. So you create it once, and then different managers would be able to just repetitively use the playbook. But with LegalFly, we go way beyond just contract reviews. We also have a feature for drafting. We have a feature for providing legal advice, a discovery feature, and we also have a due diligence feature to run for M&A, for example. If you have access to a data room and there is a checklist, a few things you would like to clarify, LegalFly can help you do so in just a few seconds.
Very, very interesting also for us, but no, in general, very interesting. Can you maybe briefly highlight to the listeners how LegalFly leverages technology to make it more accessible for the business? Which type of efficiency do you think you create, or what's the value proposition you make to the customers?
So before we started building the LegalFly product, we had a few design principles that we took into consideration as well, where we feel that if you build the future of legal tech, it's very important to take that into consideration, to build a product that creates a lot of value for those legal professionals. And that value essentially is making them more efficient by saving them a lot of time and mitigating risks within the organization. That is mainly what we were focused on. So a few of those design principles we took into account was, first of all, build an AI native solution, especially with the new wave of generative AI. It's a new category of technology that if you build an AI native solution, you're effectively able to build legal agents that are automating, especially the more repetitive work, where you just drop in a contract, for example, and fully autonomously, LegalFly is applying your playbook and 20 seconds later providing you with a report, with a review of all of the different issues and the different risks with that agreement. And with one click on the button, one issue will actually guide the AI to redraft that clause and take the risk out entirely. So we really went for a full automation of certain tasks by building an AI native solution. Another aspect that is very important that we took into consideration is privacy. So your client data should always stay within the firm. when Cresco, for example, would use LegalFly, we want to make sure that the AI models powering LegalFly have no access to the confidential data of your clients. And we're anonymizing every single legal or financial document where there is potentially a reference to a client or to personal information or company information that will allow you to identify a client is being redacted, and we're able to offer it on premise. So during our time at Tinder as well, we got very close to the legal team. We got a pretty good understanding of their challenges, also their use cases, but also the worries of the legal team when working with technology.
No, and how do you, because we're discussing different features, but how did you basically invent them? Are some of your co-founders, are they ex-lawyers? Are they legal professionalists? Or do you often talk to your customers to see which additional features could be useful? Or do you just invent it yourself and hope that the market follows? Or what's the approach there to further develop the platform and the technology?
It's a question. So LegalFly was founded last year in July. And between when we were founded and today, we had 2 investment rounds as well. We had a seed round and a Series A round. And on the checklist of the investors, they have like a certain checklist. Like when you invest in a legal tech company, what are like the parameters that the team needs to check? Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to make an investment. And one of those parameters, where the investors initially, especially in seed, were struggling with was having like that everyone in the founding team should have a very strong legal background.
Yeah.
If you look at the LegalFly founding team, we all have a very strong product engineering and AI background. We have one of our co-founders, Dennis, who has a legal background. Majority of the team is very strong on product and AI. And in our opinion, that is actually the team you need to build a product that is able to really challenge the status quo of legal tech in the space. You need a team that has a fresh approach on legal tech, that understands all of the capabilities of AI, that is super experienced in product, and it prioritizes products over go-to-market as well. And that's exactly what we did. We really had a massive drive to build the best legal AI solution that is AI native and leveraging the full potential of AI, like touching upon the boundaries of what is possible in a legal use case. Because we also wanted to avoid to be biased by the legal use cases that we figured out ourselves. So we strongly believed in doing a reach out to plenty of law firms. We did, for example, a pilot at the very beginning, a beta release 2 months after LegalFly was founded with 25 law firms. And we took the learnings from all of those firms into account. So we very strongly believe in being close to our customers, both the law firms as well as the in-house teams, and we're shaping our product roadmap 100% on customer feedback.
Yeah. But then the founder team is quite business/technical, but I assume that afterwards you have hired many legal professionals. Correct. As well to I don't know, to investigate and to evaluate how the 100%. Product actually works. And how is the balance right now? How many legals do you have in-house?
We actually, that's a very good point. So now the team has grown to 32 employees, and I think around 1/3 of the team has a very strong legal background. And especially, so we have legal researchers, we have legal QA testers, but also the customer success team. Everyone has a hardcore legal background. We just hired Natalie. She has an amazing background working for LexisNexis as a legal counsel. She was a legal counsel at the Bank of China as well. And yeah, if I look at the team, I think we have 9 or even 10 people with a strong legal background today. Yeah, because it's important, especially when they're customer facing, not necessarily in the sales team, although half of the sales team has a legal background as well, but especially when they're engaging with existing customers, that they can translate the use case of the client into how the product should be used to leverage the fullest potential of the product in that given use case.
And because we always say, like, when the legal market as such for us as legal professionals, as lawyers, is very limited to countries, because simply the law of a country is decided by the parliament in that country, and it could differ from the neighboring countries. How did you manage to create the software, the product, in a way that is scalable beyond these borders?
Yeah, so right now with LegalFly, we provide full support for 10 jurisdictions. The US, the UK, and then 8 European countries as well. Of course, including Belgium and our neighboring countries. And our approach there was that we actually train LegalFly with the legal knowledge of every individual jurisdiction. And we actually partner with local law firms in all of those jails to get access to and create a partnership with them, a knowledge partnership. So we get access to legal data as well that we can then also use for training purposes. So we never train on client data, but we do train on partner data by forging close partnerships with some of the best law firms in every jurisdiction.
Okay. And more general or meta question, how do you, because I have my personal view on it, but how would you see the legal sector, the legal market evolve based on these kinds of technological products? How do you think that a law firm, a law profession would look like in 10 years, for instance?
So I have quite a strong opinion on it because I'm on a daily basis involved in a lot of meetings with the partners at different law firms, but also with the in-house teams. And we also have a shared responsibility model, which I would like to explain. But before I do, I'm curious to get your opinion. How do you see this?
No, I think that if these types of products that they start working, performing like super efficiently, like everyone expects it to be, it will definitely have efficiency consequences. I think if you could review and amend the contract in for instance, I don't know, 20 minutes instead of 2 hours, because of the simple fact that you have a program which analyzes elements of it which are either not beneficial to your client and proposes something else, or are not legal, unlawful in a particular jurisdiction. That of course takes away a lot of the more, let's say, investigation type of work we as lawyers and junior lawyers mainly often do. So probably the profession in general, but that's my personal opinion, don't know whether it's right or wrong, but it's my personal opinion, I think it will be more focused on the negotiation part of the business, less on the actual duplicative way of working and drafting contracts, and it will be more tailor-made. I think law firms will always continue to exist and to operate in pretty much the same way as they currently do, but focusing on more niche, more tailor-made products and less on the duplicative standard ones. I don't know whether you have the same view or a different one.
Yeah, I think we have a very similar view where we strongly believe into a future, into a shared responsibility where the human lawyer and the legal AI associate, how we call it, will collaborate very intensely. The human lawyer will mainly focus on doing the legal reasoning himself, like the strategic decisions, strategic insights. Secondly, you have the emotional intelligence, because AI, I mean, it's a program. It's able to do reasoning itself, but it doesn't take into account the emotional factors. And as a lawyer, it's always very important, of course, to also have like an emotional connection to the client, to understand their pains, their worries, the challenges, the risks, and build that relationship of trust. Only then you're able to advise the client in the best way possible. And that's something that AI will never be able to do, of course. On top of that, there are also a lot of resources where AI is trained in a specific way. That's at LegalFly also the case. We're training our AI based on knowledge for all of those 10 jurisdictions where we're currently active. We're also training based on public sources, mainly government sources. And then there is like a third component where the law firm or the legal team has the opportunity to fine-tune and personalize the knowledge of LegalFly with all of the resources that they own and they possess and they have built over the years. So there also, I believe that the AI, it's an AI associate that's able to assist you, but in a lot of situations, you as a legal professional will have access to crucial context, crucial resources, that if you feed those into the AI in that specific interaction, together you will come to a greater result as well. So that is where we see the involvement of a human lawyer. With a legal AI associate, if I just look at the use cases at how our clients are becoming way more competitive by using LegalFly, it's mainly in assisting with reviews, doing initial reviews, assisting in the drafting process, running an analysis on documents, like why, if you're in a due diligence process, and let's say that you have access to a few hundreds of documents, and you need to find specific information about a said party. it will take a lot of time to read all of those documents manually and have like an army of paralegals digging in those documents almost day and night, especially in preparation for a litigation case, to get the right results to build the case. And it's also not the most interesting work. It's not that those legal professionals get excited in digging into all of those documents to retrieve the right answers. So we also feel that the tasks that AI will automate are the more boring and repetitive tasks, whereas legal professionals, they like the more strategic, challenging topics anyways. So I think we'll actually be able to assist in making the profession even more interesting and attractive to the legal professionals. But it definitely would mean that for some paralegals, that repetitive work, there will be an AI associate that is able to handle it.
And how do you, just for my personal interest, how do you think that would impact the way law firms are currently invoicing their law? Would you think that there would be a specific hourly rate for, I don't know, the hours which they gained by using a product, or how would you see an evolution in the pricing of a law firm?
Yeah, so it ties back to the billable hour in a lot of cases as well, where what I'm learning from our clients is that there are different ways they're going by it. I think over time, probably the wisest thing to do is for some of those tasks, especially like contract reviews, contract drafting, doing due diligence on an investment round for a Series A, for example. If you as a law firm can charge a fixed fee, so you can basically productize some of those services, you charge a fixed fee for those services. First of all, it will put you in a more competitive spot, because what we're learning with the firms is that they got quite some pressure and questions from clients to charge fixed fees, especially for the more repetitive or the more transactional tasks. So if you as a firm would be able to charge a fixed fee, and then you would be able to perform the service in half of the time, and the impact on your profitability would be insane. I mean, you would be the most competitive firm in the city, and you will also be the most profitable one, because you're able to perform the service in half of the time. It will not be on a billable hour model, because that would hurt you as a firm, because with AI you would become more efficient. But because of that fixed fee, it will still be a very interesting strategy with your business model. And that is what we're seeing, is that there are a lot of law firms that are actually making contact with us, because they want to start productizing their services. They want to start offering fixed fees for certain tasks and use AI to, first of all, make the task more predictable for them. So it's easier for them to also assess, like, okay, what is the fixed fee we should charge? And then produce the service in half of the time or even less, to keep the profits coming from there as well.
Yeah. Does this also impact actually the type of law firms you're targeting? Is it only the bigger ones, the international ones, or the very small ones as well, and everything in between? Is there a particular niche that you're focusing on right now?
Yeah, so right now we are mainly focused on the bigger firms, like the upper mid-market and the enterprise law firms, also because they have larger teams. So then the value of having like a legal AI workspace, where everyone can also collaboratively work on those cases, and where the AI could learn within the firm from each other on those cases, then the value, it's the benefit for the firm becomes like a multiplier effect in terms of the time that they're saving on efficiency. That being said, we are also helping a lot of the smaller firms, especially in Belgium, Netherlands, Switzerland, and the UK, mainly in those markets. Because with LegalFly, we have built it in a way that it's a SaaS product. Yeah. So also from the investment required from the firm, it's a rather small investment. It's a subscription fee. And starting from 3 users, you can already benefit from using LegalFly in your practice.
Okay. And you also told, you have started some startups in the past. You sold them. You're doing capital rounds right now. Can you maybe, because a lot of our listeners are startup entrepreneurs, scale-up entrepreneurs as well, so can you maybe highlight to the listeners what are the main legal challenges your startup or any startup in general faces, and how can they be better prepared to navigate them?
It's a very good question. So and especially if you're a hyper-growth startup in a very competitive industry like we're in, then I think there are quite a few challenges. Sorry,
the hyper-growth, you mean international VCs, or what's the criterion you use?
So with hypergrowth, I mean that it's a startup where you're experiencing an immense amount of growth in terms of the time between the fundraising rounds, the time you take to scale the team, and the time you take in terms of taking over the market. And if the market is more competitive, so for example, legal AI right now is a super competitive market because the momentum in the market is massive. Yeah. Almost all law firms are right now at least exploring the possibilities and discovering if AI could help them right now to become more efficient, to become more competitive. So yeah, there are quite a lot of players entering the market. Most of them are not AI native, best case powered by AI, because it's quite a tough technology to build upon. But in the market dynamics that we're facing right now, we want to become a category leader within the next 12 months on a global level. And that's also 1.5 years ago, LegalFly didn't even exist. Today, we're with 32 people. We raised over 17 million euros. So we need to grow and deploy the money quite fast as well. And then I think you're also, if I just compare it to my other two startups, then there are different legal challenges that you're facing. I think the first one that we were facing was that we needed legal support with closing the investment rounds. Having the first conversations with the VCs all the way to the term sheet went smooth. But then as soon as we had the term sheets, we also learned, especially when comparing multiple term sheets, that there were quite some differences on them. And even for us, even when we were a legal tech startup, I mean, we used LegalFly to run an analysis on those term sheets. But even then, there were like small nuances where we felt like, okay, we definitely should loop in a lawyer as well to assist us. And 𝗽cie, by the way, did an amazing job. And that's also how we met David first a while ago. It was just before we did our seed round. And it's actually a nice anecdote as well. There was a VC, a Belgian VC, that did they wanted to do like... They wanted to organize like a prospection meeting where basically 𝗽cie would look at a product demo of LegalFly. We had no contact before. Of course, we knew 𝗽cie as a firm, but there was never contact before. And based on the feedback of 𝗽cie on the product, the VC would decide if they wanted to invest or not. The meeting went so well that 𝗽cie actually became a customer of us back then. And so when that was actually amazing to see. We ended up partnering with an international VC from Switzerland because we wanted to build an international company. But having that support, especially in terms of negotiating the different terms on the term sheets, but definitely also in the shareholders agreement, that is, I think, the first important step of where you as a startup should involve a law firm. Ideally, I would even say that is almost like the only situation you need to involve a law firm in. But if I just look at our own experience, because otherwise you're in a way in trouble if you need additional support. But that's also why in a hyper-growth startup, we had a trademark situation where the LegalFly trademark, so it's trademarked in the UK, in the European Union, and in the US. In the European Union, our trademark actually got opposed in Spain, actually, and there we immediately involved 𝗽cie as well to assist us in making sure that we can push the trademark through. So that's also, I think, very important in terms of IP and trademarks to definitely, don't try to do it yourself because it's super specialized. It's super specialized niche. You definitely need professional advice and a legal team to assist you on that front. And then there is one more situation. If you're in a very competitive space, you may have competition that tries to give you a punch, not always in the most honorable way. So also in those situations, I think it's important to make sure, in order to protect the product, the team, and the business you're building, that you have a law firm on your side. And as soon as there is a legal challenge, look them in immediately, because it can hurt your business if you don't, or if you try to run it solo by yourself.
Yeah, I can imagine that it's very challenging in a super competitive market as the one you're in. You also mentioned that you raised 17 million up to now.
Correct.
How could you maybe explain how is this money right now still used? Is it still largely going to product development? I assume product is never fully developed. You always continue to do so, or is it mainly commercialization, or is it a good mix between the two of them? How is that used currently?
So up until 2 weeks ago, I was actually pretty proud because I could always say like, hey, we didn't even touch the 15 million of our Series A round yet because it was still like sitting on the bank because we had some nice revenues coming in and we were like highly efficient in terms of building product and scaling the team. Now we're very aggressively hiring, of course. So we are starting to utilize the Series A budget, but majority of the budget goes into building the product. But by far, like 90% of the money we spend goes to people. And we built everything in-house. For us, it's super important. We have scaled the engineering team significantly as well over the past months. We have now started scaling the go-to-market team significantly because it's pretty clear to us that we achieved a remarkable product market fit. So now it's time to scale and to grab the market with both our hands. And basically, one of our investors actually told us like, look, Ruben, now it's all about, you have a jar of cookies in the middle of the table. And now it's all about who is able to lick those cookies the quickest. And you guys have built an amazing product. It's literally like we're ahead of the curve in legal AI. But you also got to make sure that you're cautious that you have some competitors in there after all of those cookies in the jar. And as soon as the cookie is licked, no one will touch it anymore because they're in a yearly contract or a multi-year contract. So be quick enough in terms of scaling the go-to-market team and grabbing market share as well. But I would say people. I think it's one of the learnings we definitely also have with LegalFly is look for the best talent out there, nurture those people. And because they're basically building the success of your company.
Yeah, because I can also imagine it's a competitive market, but it's also from a regulatory perspective. It's regulations are changing all the time. How do you make sure, or do you see any challenges for your company or for other legal tech companies to cope with, and how do you do so? Because, for instance, recently we had the EU AI Act and others.
Correct.
So how do you tackle these challenges?
Yeah, so of course, as a legal AI, as a legal tech company, for us, it's key to keep track of legislation as well. But our approach always there was to already have a look at the AI bills before they're being passed through the parliament, so we can already understand what's coming and make sure that we build a product in advance that is already compliant with future legislation like the EU AI Act. So we spent quite some time digging into it in detail. And there, the legal background of a lot of our team members is super valuable. So I think that's like the most important decision we made. And it actually resulted in a lot of product decisions, like the anonymization of every feature, for example, that definitely helped us in already being compliant with even the strictest AI laws on legal tech that are globally being enforced or will be enforced over the next months. Of course, as we're selling to law firms, we have a great network of amazing law firms that are assisting us, that are advising us, that are even asking us like, hey, what is the impact of EU AI Act on legal tech as a whole? So we're definitely in weekly discussions with our clients and with partners also about the impact that those regulations bring. But I think most importantly, stay ahead of those regulations before they come into effect and make sure that the product you're building or the business you're building is always compliant before they're even accepted.
Yeah, I can imagine that is super important when you're 100%. Selling a legal product in a sense, or a product to be used in the legal sector. Looking back at all your previous experiences, are there any lessons, and not particularly related to legal products as such, but to building a company, to scaling a company, to organizing a company, to putting a product in the market? Are there any lessons you learned in the past, which you're applying right now or learned recently, and which you could share with the audience, with the listeners?
100%. There are a lot of lessons. So 100%, there are a lot of lessons. On a daily basis, I'm still learning, and we have to, of course. But if I look at my past 2 startups, I think the biggest lesson definitely is that. So I'm a product guy myself. I love building an amazing solution, an innovative solution to a very complex challenge or problem. That's what I've been doing with the other startups as well. And what is also important, of course, is that besides building the best product in the industry, also start thinking about go-to-market and scaling, and how do you bring that product into the hands of the customers, because that's an art by itself as well. So when launching LegalFly, at the very beginning, I was highly involved with the product of LegalFly as well. But pretty soon, as soon as we did the beta release, I decided to focus on the business aspect entirely. And also when assembling the LegalFly team, and I had the opportunity to work with some of the smartest engineers and product people that were originally working at Tinder, that actually allowed me to be fully focused on business, because I knew with the previous startups, I went a little bit too deep into product, and it's very important to have a right balance between product and go-to-market, where we still believe that product comes first. It always comes first. The value to the customer needs to be immense. But of course, if you want to become a category leader, you should definitely think about go-to-market and how you get that product into the hands of your customers.
Yeah, that's actually quite in line with other answers we got on similar questions. So to always keep in mind what the customer will actually pay for and which problem you solve for them, instead of diving in the rabbit hole, let's say, and continuing to develop nice features which maybe would not be valuable enough to sell, or to sell at a higher price.
And validate everything for potential customers. That is why we built a very early prototype of LegalFly. And after 2 months, we did a beta release with 25 law firms. On the first day, we had already so much feedback, like we were shipping product updates on a daily basis during that pilot phase. But at the end of the pilot, it was a 1-month pilot. At the end of the pilot, we already had multiple firms that wanted to convert and wanted to get a subscription. We didn't even have the company yet. So they were like rushing to establish the company and found a company in Belgium. But I think that is super important, that when you build a product, don't build whatever you think is right, but build a product roadmap based on the client feedback, and make sure that you're offering and building a solution based on those pains that clients are facing.
Yeah, we've discussed a lot of your professional trajectory right now. I know you're very busy. You just arrived from London, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Last week you were abroad as well.
It was an amazing day at Legal Geek yesterday. Yeah.
Cool. So, but in general, then, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, how do you maintain a healthy balance between both professionally as well as personally? How do you achieve in doing so while managing a hyper-growth startup?
It's definitely challenging, especially because I'm also the father of 2 amazing daughters, Elizabeth and Charlotte, and I have an amazing fiance, Tatoeik, as well. So it's definitely challenging, because on one hand you want, of course, the business to succeed and to grow as quickly as possible, but on the other hand you want to be there for the family, especially when it really matters as well. So it's to be honest, it's a balance that I'm struggling with almost on a daily basis, because it's family time. In the long run, family time is the most important, and that's also why we're doing this, why we're building this fantastic business. It's to also create an amazing future also for the family, for the kids, and especially if I look to the last year, they didn't see me a lot, and like there were a lot of days where I was working till very late at the office, and my daughters didn't see me, not in the morning, not during the day, not in the evening, because they were already sleeping when I got home. But yeah, so the advice that I would give there is that it's tough combining a startup with family, especially if you have kids. So I think it's very important that you have an amazing partner. Like, I never could have done it without my fiance, without Tatoeik, that's for sure. You need to have an amazing partner who believes 100% in what you're doing. And yeah, you need to be great at communicating with your partner. And on the moments that you're there with the family, make sure to be 100% in family mode. Which is challenging as well, especially during fundraising rounds. And I was at home. It was like 11:30 in the evening, and I was still like communicating or like showing to the family messages of VCs that we were negotiating with. And I learned that it's best that you gotta be able to turn it off. And the way I did it, for example, is my Slack notifications on my mobile phone, they're turned off. So when I'm playing with my daughters or when we're having dinner, I really want to make sure like I'm paying my attention 100% to the family. And then in the weekend, make up as much as I can for the time that they didn't see me.
Nice. I can imagine that is very difficult to balance, but also professionally balancing or striking the right balance between doing the fundraising, which is super time, and we do it all the time, so we know it's super time intensive also for our clients, and still continuing to manage the company the way it should be managed and develop everything in the way it should be developed. How did you manage to do so? Did you divide the founder team basically between the ones operating the business and the ones doing the fundraising, or how did you combine both?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm very grateful with my founding team. We're also a very multidisciplinary founding team. So we're a founding team of 4 people where we all have very clear ownership and responsibilities. I'm, for example, responsible for sales and then fundraising whenever there is an investment round. And then the day-to-day operations is basically split between myself and Dennis, my other co-founder. Dennis is mainly focused on finance, customer success, and security. He has a very strong security background, where, for example, we divided the internal day-to-day work in terms of managing payroll. Just to give you an example, and accounting, Dennis is taking care of it. And in terms of building the relationship with the investors, with the existing investors, or the new ones, or defining the company goals and the company strategy, that resides with me. So that is some clear separations we made, I think, in the focus, and also the accountability and the ownership, which is very important. Definitely very clearly discuss with every founder who is accountable, responsible for what aspect, because someone in the end needs to take responsibility for a very specific task. Then we have 𝗽cie𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘁 as well, taking full responsibility for engineering. It's amazing. Like, I don't need to worry at all about how the product is being built. 𝗽cie𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘁 is like running the entire engineering team solo. It's amazing. So that really allows me to focus on growth, on business, and whenever I want, I can be involved in product as well. Dennis as well, 𝗽cie𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘁 as well, because product is actually shared across all of the founders. Mm-hmm. So if I then look to Gregory, our 4th founder, Gregory is like the best designer I've ever seen. And we very often get the feedback like, "Whoa, this is like the sexiest legal AI solution I've ever seen." Like yesterday at Legal Geek as well, I gave a presentation. After presentation, a lot of people came to our booth, and the first thing they said is, "It looks so beautiful. Like, I want to start interacting with it. It looks so easy." It's like even a non-legal professional would be able to suddenly run a contract review or draft a contract without having any knowledge because of the way the workflows are built. So Gregory is amazing in design, amazing in marketing, and also very good in product. I think that's key. That you got to have an amazing founding team, people you can trust, people that are better in a lot of different aspects. So you can trust handing over engineering, you can trust handing over security and finance, design, marketing. So you can focus, because keeping your focus is important. And as I mentioned earlier on, you need to have a great partner in life as well, especially if you have a family, because after every great man, there is an even greater woman behind the scenes that is like vouching and that is being super super supportive. So I think that's very important.
Is it difficult to keep yourself fresh, let's say, in a way, or is there something that particularly, or someone that particularly inspires you in your work to continue working, to continue growing, to continue developing? Do you have any like actual role models or examples you could mention?
Definitely, but it's quite a long list of people on different aspects. But I think in terms of entrepreneurship, I would definitely say Elon Musk. And I think we have quite some different political views on things. But let's park politics for now. But I mean, how he managed to transform entire industries, it's crazy. Like how he's transforming all automakers in the world to go electric, like what he has been doing with Tesla. It's amazing how suddenly SpaceX is sending rockets into space and they're just returning and they can recycle the entire rocket. It's crazy. Curious to see if he's really able to start a colony on Mars, but let's see how far it goes. And recently on the We Robot event of Tesla, the fact that you can get like a robo butler in your house for 20,000 euros, It's crazy. My fiance thinks it's a bit scary, to be honest. I tried to convince her already, like, oh, it's amazing.
It's probably a way to more balance the
Yeah, exactly.
professional and the personal life.
I told her, like, I promise you I'll buy you one of those robots. But she was like, no, it's creepy. Let's not do it. I don't want that robot to be walking around the kids. So, but I tried. So I think definitely Elon Musk, how he's able across so many industries to come with a very innovative solution that really rethinks how that industry is operating. That is, I think, definitely a big inspiration for me. And then I would say, actually, His Highness Al Maktoum, which is actually one of the sheikhs of Dubai. It's crazy how, and also their politics, I'm going to park it for now, but how in the middle of the desert they managed to build a city from scratch where they want to become the biggest in everything. They have the biggest expo in the world. They have the tallest tower in the world. And how also from an economic perspective, they're like the bridge or the gateway between Europe and Asia. I think it's amazing. And I think there's a lot we can learn actually in how the United Arab Emirates are operating and how they are building cities like Dubai. Because have you ever been to Dubai before?
No, but I've heard a lot about it.
You definitely should. It's like from the moment the plane, it already starts on the plane with Emirates. The entire experience is just, it's amazing. It's top notch. But it's like the energy. The thing that I love most there, I try to go to Dubai once a year, kind of like an inspiration tour. Every year the city has evolved so significantly. But it's the energy of the place, the people. It's amazing how they managed to do it. And then sometimes if I compare the way things are being run or how we are developing in Europe, then in Europe it's often such a bureaucratic society and things. I mean, there are a lot of things where I'm super proud of as a European, especially social rights, our economic situation, our legislative system. I think it's amazing. I mean, really protecting our citizens, but also the companies. I think it's a very good balance. But then again, if you as an entrepreneur want to get things done in Europe, it's not the ideal climate for entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's a matter of checks and balances, and sometimes the pendulum is a little bit too much 100%. To one side, I guess. But yeah, can imagine the feeling you have. So conscious of timing as well. So we have one question we ask to every single guest in every podcast, and that is, at Cresco we deeply value collaboration. So we love to ask all our podcast guests, if you could partner with any company or individual in the world, who would that be and why?
It's a very good question. To be very honest, so with LegalFly we have some very clear verticals, industries we're focused on. The law firms, banking, insurance, for example, highly regulated industries. But to be honest, I don't feel that it's my position to decide who I want to sign as a client. I want to make sure that we can identify the client where we can drive most value for the organization and partner with those. I get excited about the ones we're able to make most impact in helping them streamline their legal operations or legal workflows. And we're still to discover exactly which company that is. I mean, we have some amazing enterprises in the pipeline, but it's not that we have like a target list at the office. It's more that we're still learning and diving very deep into the legal workflows of a lot of different industries and companies. And yeah, it would definitely be the one where we're able to help them in the best way possible. And in a way also democratize legal services for that specific organization, to make sure that anyone at the organization can get access to high quality legal services, and that the legal risk for the company reduces significantly.
Very nice to hear. So it's always the next big one, actually.
It's always the next big one. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I think it was a very interesting conversation, and I hope everyone enjoyed. So thank you.
Thank you.